morning.
Morning coffee.
All
Happy
right. I got my Saints cup. Who
Monday.
dat? Who dat? Who dat? We're playing
Man.
playing the who are we playing today? But they're Monday night. Love the Saints. Love Drew Brees.
Do you really?
I
You're a
do.
Saints fan for real?
Yeah. I mean,
Huh.
LA didn't have a team for however many years, and so
So how are you an Atlanta Braves fan and
that's
not a
that's a
Falcons fan?
that's a topic for another day. We're
Okay.
here. We're here to talk about real estate.
Okay.
Um,
Sorry. I'm just
hey,
I'm
we're
sorry that
live. We're live.
my
Yeah,
sports brain is just confused.
that's hilarious.
All
Um,
right.
but my favorite team of all the land is the Atlanta Braves. Anyway, okay. So last week we had Mega Camp and it was fan freaking tastic. Oh
Yeah,
my
it was.
gosh, so much content. I almost I have let's see here. I think it's about 20 pages of notes.
Yeah, I'm
So
pretty.
good, so good. So they started off the call, and we're gonna have a special guest on Thursday's team meeting, and his name is Keith Cunningham. And I'd like to say I brought him in personally, but Gary Keller did have some influence on that one. I'm just
Yeah,
little DJ
man.
Malone, his team leader in Santa Clarita. But what they talked about is very, very, very important, and I'm glad they started off the call this way. And it's something that you and I have talked about in our team meetings. A couple months ago was resiliency. That was the
Yeah.
team. That was the theme of the team meeting. And then last month was grit. And so we will have a new theme in 4 days on Thursday. But why I bring those two up specifically is that they said, this isn't the first time we've seen a pandemic. We did have the Spanish flu. What was it, 1919 or something like that? That's right around there, early 1900s. And they also talked about a pandemic that happened in 1957 that spurred a recession. Now, obviously, it wasn't as big as the Spanish flu, and it wasn't as big of what's going on right now. However, it did spur the recession, and the unemployment went from 4.5 to 7.5%, and it did take about 2 years to have that decrease in unemployment again. And so historically, our national average has been about 5%. And
Right.
why do I bring up these statistics? Is that one, we don't know what the true unemployment rate is right now. We do know that we are in the middle of a pandemic, and we will bounce back. We always bounce back. And so we just have to go out in there right now, today, and work. That's the bottom line. Is one of the other biggest things that they said was we have to take the mind share over today. We have a window.
Right.
This is from the VP of Facebook.
Right.
Mind share. So get your information out there today, because a lot of advertisers have pulled back. That allows little people like us to come in there and get our information in front of the most amount of people.
Yeah, I think it's
So
important
we got to
too.
take for the market share for tomorrow. Mind share today for
For
market share
sure.
tomorrow.
But I think it's important that he did show, just to go back before we go into the market share aspect, though, is there's basically two different things happening right now, because the financial industries have very low, very,
Correct.
very
Yes, very
low
low.
unemployment, if any. It's
Right.
almost as if it's 100% is the way that they explained
It's
it.
almost about 100%. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, you're right.
And those are the people buying houses. Those are the people that are taking advantage of the interest rates. So that's why we are still seeing a very high number of sales happening, and sales happening fast.
Right.
It's because there's two different things happening. The hospitality industries and things like that, right? Travel industries, all of that is less, right? They're a little bit higher. Hospitality was, I think the unemployment
was like
was
21.
closer to 21%. Yeah. And so you just have two different things happening, but we need to be aware of that. We need to understand what that looks like, so that we can be in front of the right people. It
Right.
goes back to marketing and what they talk about, right? Consistency and relevancy.
Yep.
So if you, I mean, again, no offense, but if you're marketing to, the waitress at Denny's who's still kind of out of a job or making less money, right? Those are, you're gonna fall on deaf ears right now, because they're not in the midst of, oh, let's go buy a house.
Right.
But there are plenty of people out there that in certain industries, in certain way, that are thriving right now. Like that happens because because the world is still going on. The world is still moving. People are still working. We are still working every single day. So understanding where that is. And then as you, and again, so let's be clear. What he talks about is the mind share of today. So now we have to be top of mind. We have to be in front of them, right? Because that equals market share later. And we talked about this morning on the 8:30 call is, you know, they said 54% of consumers are open to a new brand.
Yep.
So that means twofold, right? 54% of our database is up for grabs if we're not in front of them. If we're not in the mind share, let's go back to that term, right? But there's also 54% that's out there that are open to talking to you, and you can go get that mind share. So now is the double down time to make sure I'm deep in my database, make sure I'm having those calls, make sure that I'm in front of them. But on the flip side, it's time to go get that to go get mind share elsewhere so that I am the top of mind, because they are willing to talk to me today. And I need to go get that. I need to understand that, right? It's a huge, huge opportunity to go grab market share. I think it was Josh Team said, market share is up for grabs.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the people of today are more open to talking to somebody new than ever before. And that's evident in that stat. It's more than 50% of the people, 54% are open to talking to somebody new or using somebody new. That's not to say they will continue to use that person, but they're open to exploring new opportunities. The new opportunity with that 54% are open to exploring the new opportunities.
That's right.
Now it's up to us, the people, to deliver on the value.
That's
so
right.
What are we doing to deliver that value? And I know you and I we can certainly go on and on and on. There's so many more things that we can talk about right now.
Beautiful.
But we will continue to talk about it throughout this week, and especially in the team meetings. So please, 11 o'clock, be there. 11 o'clock sharp. A lot of really, really great content. So I think we end it right there, man. Unless you got anything, you got one final cherry on top.
Well, I wrote this down from Josh Team, and I actually circled it in my book, and it says the appetite is changing. The consumer appetite is changing due to the COVID reset. So those of you guys that are new, or those of you guys that have been in business for 20 years, understand that there's a COVID reset. So need to reset. We all need to reset and understand that. And looking at our digital presence, our social presence, all the way down, he said, to your email signature, you need to understand each and every one of those. It's a COVID reset. And I think that's something that we need to make sure we need to keep talking about over and over and over again so people understand it. COVID reset, go get your fair share, go get your mind share so you can have market share later.
Let's do it. Cheers, my man.
All right.